It's time for Lefties Losing It. Let's see what happened when a lefty losing it decided to confront border Czar Tom Homan. Mistake, big mistake. Sit back and enjoy this. You may need a cigarette afterwards.
Let's release them in the community. Wait 3 or 5 years.
Member.
Pardon me?
Are you an MS-13 member? It says so.
Hey, that's okay. That's okay. I got a question. No. I got a question for you. Why don't you come up here and hand me that picture? All right. You got morons like this all over the country. This guy wouldn't like the surface nation. This guy ain't got the balls to be an ICE officer. He hasn't got the balls to be a Border Patrol agent. This guy lives in his mother's basement. The only thing that surprises me, you don't have purple hair and a nose ring. Get out of here, you loser. And you're such a badass, meet me off stage in 13 minutes and 50 seconds. I guarantee you he sits down to pee. Guaranteed.
Oh, superb. I just love him. I really do. Now that he's demolished that joker, perhaps Tom Homan could school this next clown who has put together a tutorial of sorts advising people to waste immigration and custom enforcement's time with prank calls and fake tip-offs. I'm pretty sure that's a crime.
So ICE has a tip line that's available on their website. It's listed right there. And you can call it 24/7 to report suspicious activity related to illegal immigration. If you manage to get an ICE officer on the phone, you can always just make up a 1 or 2 minute scenario of something that never happened that they can look into. However, if you get the voicemail, which is much more common, I recommend leaving a wet, juicy fart sound effect. They also have a hotline that you can text, and I figured out that you can send images to the number.
They always have those crazy eyes, don't they? And talking about crazy eyes, check out this lady.
I just thought of a way to combine my MAGA hating and my work in the ER. MAGA supporters are like people who hold on to fireworks too long. You love it until it hurts you. Kind of like, how you love it until you can't retire until the age of 70. So see it in the ER, folks, when your fingers get blown off. Oh, have a good day.
Gross, just gross. Now get ready for a Jasmine Crockett extravaganza. We've featured her before. She says a lot of dumb things. And then there's the whole accent switch up. She can go from prep school to ghetto like this. Kamala has nothing on her. But despite her habit of saying some really, really, truly stupid stuff, there is talk of her being the new bright star amongst the Democrats. Perhaps she could lead the Democratic Party into being electable again. Let's have a look at her here, flat out lying, saying that the left are not violent at all, and the men who wanted to assassinate Donald Trump are actually his supporters. That makes perfect sense if you're a moron.
Violence doesn't come from Democrats, just to be clear. I mean, obviously anyone can be a criminal, but it is MAGA. It's specifically MAGA faction. Like, I don't think traditional Republicans are getting engaged in all of this, but like, even when we look at, and they don't talk about the assassination attempts anymore that took place with Donald Trump, but these were Trump supporters, right?
Yep, lies, lies, lies. And of course, that's the sort of lying that the lunatics at MSNBC just love. Watch this embarrassing exchange between an MSNBC host and a teary Jasmine.
That was you and I 3 years ago. That was your first time on the Katie Phang Show. This is the second to the last episode of the show. Congresswoman, I wanted to thank you for always getting up and early and delivering it, but I also want to say thank you for your continuing support for democracy. It's definitely something that you have made your brand, and it's the integrity that you're bringing, and I'm grateful for you always. We'll miss you. Oh. You can't have me crying at the beginning of a show, Jasmine. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, you haven't seen the last of me. Thank you for being here and getting us started today. I always appreciate you. Thank you.
And here Jasmine Crockett has the nerve, the chutzpah, to call other people dumb. Apparently, if you don't vote for the radical Democrats, well, you're just uneducated. You don't know what you're doing.
That's most people voted the wrong way because they were uneducated. And that's not to call them dumb, but literally life sometimes is life. And you're trying to keep a roof over your head, keep food on the table, trying to make sure that your kids have what they need. And so you're not tuned in to the endless news cycle, or you don't know what the truth is. Y'all need to connect the dots.
And talking about chutzpah, here is Jasmine Crockett claiming that Joe Biden was cognitively sound. Nothing wrong with him. It's President Donald Trump's mental acuity that concerns her.
Do you have concerns about the president's health and his mental acuity?
No.
None whatsoever.
I had none. Now, granted, I didn't see Joe Biden every single day, but I did have an opportunity to interact with the president. I never had a concern. If there's anyone that I am concerned about their mental acuity, it is the current occupant.
Now to the man who wants to be US president, who wants to position himself as the sensible centrist Democrat, the sane choice among a sea of hard left radicals. The only problem is, well, he's the current governor of California, the state that has crystallised for so many Americans just why the modern left is broken. Here is Gavin Newsom. He's asked about the evil of transitioning an 8-year-old child, and he can't even bring himself to condemn that.
What about for your values? I mean, is 8 years old too young?
Yeah, I mean, look, I now that I have a 9-year-old, just became 9, come on, man, I get it. So those are legit. You know, it's interesting, just the issue of age. As someone that's been so focused on equality, broadly, LGBT rights, particularly gay marriage, the trans issue for me is also novel. It's over the last few years, I'm trying to understand as much as anyone else. Whole pronoun thing, trying to understand all of that. Well, you know, that was like the hell. I mean, all that stuff. I get it.
Joining me now is Sky News contributor Kosha Gator. Kosha, like so many who identify as centrist, he strikes me as someone who just lacks principles, lacks conviction. And on an issue like that, how can you not have a position? I'd almost have more respect for him if he was just pushing the gender line about you have to affirm people's gender identities, because at least you believe in something. He knows what transitioning an 8-year-old is wrong, but he just does not want to say that because there's going to be too many of his supporters who'll be upset with that.
Class, I think you nailed it. That in this day and age that we live in, centrist is like an obfuscation. You can't be a centrist on an issue like this. It's pretty binary, pretty black and white, pun intended. And he's going on Sean Ryan's podcast. He went on with Charlie Kirk.
Yes.
So he knows he's going to get asked this question. He's doing that to try and somewhat appeal to the center right of the country, even though he'll run back to California and totally own the positions there. But in this chair, he'll do something else. And you can see he used so many words, so many hand gestures, and that's all filler, because he was trying to buy time and obfuscate, because he knows the absurdity of what he's saying, and he was just trying to run out the clock there on that show and not admit it.
Yeah, forget about his words. Look at his actions. Look at the policies California has. It's got some of the most radical hard left policies when it comes to the transgender movement. And I think he just wants to get credit for going on Charlie Kirk or Sean Ryan's podcast, because it sets him apart from other Democrats who are too terrified to do that, or who say, you know, they're white supremacists or Nazis because they don't happen to be left-wing. Now, Gavin Newsom did find the courage to troll Vice President JD Vance by sharing this video, and he also posted a rather snarky comment telling JD Vance, I hope you enjoy your family time. The families you're tearing apart certainly won't. Vance did have this rather superb response. He simply posted back, "Had a great time. Thanks, Kosha." I've got to say, Vance is very good at this. He's, in fact, I think even better than Donald Trump at this political warfare. He loves to have a little bit of conflict with the lefties, and he normally prevails.
He certainly does. So disingenuous of Gavin Newsom again, because the Vances are not illegals. Like he's conflating the two, and everybody sees through it. And it's easy to show courage behind a tweet, making fun of the running, which, by the way, Vance was a former Marine. So I think,
exactly.
Regardless of what's in the video, like he can hold his own, I'm sure. And Vance is a very good communicator. He's different. I mean, I think Trump is the OG for sure in terms of his effectiveness as a communicator. But in many ways, Vance, he's younger. He's clear sometimes in certain ways, and he enjoys the adversarial aspect and going for the conflict, going for the jugular. But then he also sort of wraps it up in kind of a fun, jovial aspect to him. So he's got a lot of good qualities, I think, up his sleeve, and his star is rising.
And that whole video, and it did go viral. Every single lefty account seemed to be publishing it and mocking Vance. But I've got to say, I mean, what are they playing at? This is the left who mock toxic masculinity, who say it's a terrible thing, and they seem to be poking fun at him because his running style isn't masculine enough. It's a very confused message that they're sending out there.
It reminds me of during the campaign, they tried weird. Tim Walz was trying to brand J.D. Vance as weird, and it sort of boomeranged back on him. So I think something similar might happen with this. It's not going to stick.
Absolutely. And also, he was running to look after his kid. His kid was climbing some rocks, and he ran to assist his child. So that's very relatable, doing that yourself and not having the staff do it. Now, let's have a look at this. Some theatrics from fired State Department employees. The Trump administration has reduced the workforce there by around 1,300, a relatively small drop in the number of workers, and yet the media, Kosha, seem to give every sacked worker a microphone. Just earlier this month, Microsoft sacked 9,000 employees. I don't recall the media giving those people this sort of coverage. Why are these public servants being treated like this is something that never happens, someone actually being sacked?
So theatrical, as you say, and these probably were theater kids, a lot of them, who then go off and work in government. And there's this whole narrative. It really is about the theater, the big bad government and the Trump administration and the poor little honest worker trying to work for America. And they're trying to create this narrative around it. But the numbers, as you say, it's not even 0.5% of the total number of federal government employees, which is something like 2.8 million.
Exactly.
We're going to be lucky if we even get to single digits in firings, because they've been obstructed every step of the way from judicial activism and all the rest of it. Everybody knows the government is too big. Microsoft, great example, white collar. You could even go blue collar. And when coal miners were shut down or small businesses went out of business because of the COVID restrictions and everything else, they never shed a tear for those folks. But here suddenly it's tears and microphones in the streets.
And it's a threat to democracy. Like, everything is a threat to democracy for the left. Now, President Trump has suggested today that First Lady Melania has helped him with Russian President Vladimir Putin, helped remind him that Putin has continually backed out of his promise over a possible peace deal with Ukraine. Kosha, the president, explained that Melania pointed out Putin's false promises, where he's made certain assurances in these phone calls, and then he goes and bombs another Ukrainian site.
I think the Melania reveal was interesting, just as a side note, because she's such an enigma. She's very famously private. And
she is an enigma, isn't she?
Is.
It's part of her charm.
It really is. And so getting these little glimpses of their dinner table conversation about Vladimir Putin was interesting. On the topic itself, I think it just reveals, Trump really is a consummate pragmatist, realist deal maker. It's not that he's a puppet of Putin, as he's been called, or that he even hates Zelensky. He certainly is not fond of Zelensky. And going into this, I think he was probably more favorably inclined to Putin. But as this drags on, as Putin also continues to strike, his own soldiers are dying, Russian soldiers, so many, hundreds of thousands of them, in addition to, of course, civilians and Ukrainians. He's not happy with it, Trump. This is sort of a distraction for him, I think, from what he wanted to do with the domestic agenda. And he's one of the only people in the world who can maybe move the needle here in some way. And I think he's just expressing that frustration.
Well, this is really a blight on his second term, isn't it? He's got so much of what he wanted to do done so quickly, from the border to fantastic economic news domestically. He's getting his tariffs in place and getting the revenue there. But he promised to do something about this war and do it quickly, and so far he's failed to deliver on that.
Yeah, the famous line that I can solve this in 24 hours. Now, that was just rhetoric on the campaign stump, and not everything is in control. But yes, it has dragged on longer than we all would like, and probably longer than he thought.
Absolutely. Now, the New York Times has asked an important question of its readers. It's asking, is it time to stop snubbing your right-wing family? I mean, really, what a broken publication with an even more broken readership, it seems. I don't know, Kosha. I think I'd rather be snubbed by these people. We've got enough crazy in our lives, and life is too short, I think. I mean, what a bizarre thing to be saying, but I think it reflects their readership, because so many of them can't cope with friends, family, work colleagues who may think differently from them.
That's so true, and such a childish tactic to snub somebody, not like, I'm going to influence you, or maybe let's just agree to disagree, but I'm going to snub you. And I looked into the author, David Litt. He's one of the former senior speechwriters for Obama.
Of course.
So I was rather surprised when I saw the level of depth or lack thereof in his analysis. And the funny thing, too, is so the tactic snubbing is childish, but also the issue that he really focused in on were the COVID vaccine mandates, which is not the hill to die on, because that has totally changed. It's not even a left or right thing. So many people view that very, very skeptically after everything that we were put through. And he was basically going after his sister's younger brother, who decided not to take the vaccine. And he used that as the central motif in his article about why you should snub your right-wing family member who maybe didn't want to take the vax.
I know, it is such a bizarre hill to die on. I still think it is a political issue. I think the hard left are still clinging on to those mandates as the right thing to do, even with everything we've learned since then. But wow, yeah, you forget about that. You forget about family members not being invited to Christmas dinners because of the COVID vaccine mandates. Incredible time. Kosha Gator, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.